Okay,
let us address you now.
We let you talk for several minutes.
Let us address you, please listen.
Yes. And by the way, I thank you. You asked a question that is relevant to our topic, and you gave probably, I'd say, the best case a Muslim could make for the idea that Deuteronomy 18 is referring to Muhammad, and your thoughts were carefully thought out and so on. So I appreciate this. This is unique among some of the calls that we've gotten. Now, I'd just like to point out a couple brief problems, and then Sam will have some more to add. You referred to the idea that Muhammad is like Moses. The problem is, everything you pointed out is irrelevant to the meaning of like Moses in the context of the book of Deuteronomy. Why? Because Deuteronomy itself defines what the phrase like Moses is referring to in this context. We turn to Deuteronomy 34, and this is what we read. This is what like Moses means. Since that time, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, for all the signs and wonders which the Lord sent him to perform in the land of Egypt against Pharaoh and all his servants. So think about this. Like Moses is referring to someone who would know God face to face, and to someone who would perform signs and wonders. Is this like Moses? I mean, is Muhammad like Moses in this sense? No. Did Muhammad know Allah face to face? No. Muhammad supposedly received revelations from Gabriel. And did Muhammad perform miracles? No, the Quran denies over and over again that Muhammad could perform signs and wonders. The people during his time challenged him over and over again, please, would you perform a sign like Moses? And Muhammad simply could not do it. Second, we have to consider the context of the passage. This prophet, like Moses, was to be raised up from the countrymen, the brethren of the Israelites. In context, this refers to fellow Jews. I invite you to go back to Deuteronomy 18:2, where it uses the exact same word to refer, obviously, to one's fellow Israelites. No one would have said this refers to Arabs. No Jew hearing this verse would have said, aha, when it says from among our brethren here, it must mean from among some Arab tribe, and it must mean thousands of years after this prophecy. This is not how they would have interpreted it. They would have said, yes, we're waiting eventually, but it's going to be right here in Israel. This is where this prophecy is going to be fulfilled.
I need to add some other points. I hope he's listening. It is obvious that when I read the passages, Muhammad wasn't paying attention. He was just getting ready to just make his case and ignored everything I said. I clearly said, please pay attention to the context. Let me read Deuteronomy 18, verses 15 to 16 to show this prophecy has absolutely nothing to do with the false prophet named Muhammad. And I'll give you other reasons to show that according to Moses, Muhammad is a false prophet. This prophecy is referring to the fact that the Israelites asked, we do not want to see God or hear His voice, lest we die. So you, Moses, speak to us on God's behalf. God not only honored that request, He said that He'll continue to honor it by raising up prophets to speak to them on God's behalf. So it's speaking about God speaking to Israel through prophets, not sending an Ishmaelite to kill them and to expel them from the Hijaz. Let me read Deuteronomy 18, 15 to 16 one more time. Because again, I said, please pay attention to the contextual meaning, so you know what it means in its historical context. But you obviously ignored me because you wanted to quote from a book from Ahmed Didat or someone about 10 irrelevant similarities between Moses and Muhammad, ignoring all the relevant dissimilarities. But let me read Deuteronomy 18, 15 to 16. Yahweh, your God, will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your own brothers. You must listen to him. And here's the reason why. 16 tells you, for this is what you, Ishmaelites, living in Mecca, or Israelites, this is what you, Israelites, asked of Yahweh, your God, at Horeb, not at the Kaaba, on the day of the assembly when you said, let us not hear the voice of Yahweh our God, nor see this great fire anymore, or we will die. Because you made this request, God honored that request by letting Moses speak to you, and now that Moses is about to die, God is going to send other prophets to continue to speak to you. This is why the verse after that, verse 17, clearly says, Yahweh said to me, what they say is good. I like what they say. They've learned to fear me. Therefore, I don't have to show myself to them in order for them to know that I am God and they need to fear me. And then he says, I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brothers. So in the context, the application is to the Israelites. You Israelites, God will continue to speak to you through prophets like Moses, because you asked not to see God. You didn't want God to address you directly. And God said, that's good. I'm going to raise up prophets. Again, let me continue the thought of the brother, what he said. He said the similarities between a prophet like Moses is not that they were both born naturally or died naturally. In fact, Muhammad didn't die like Moses. Moses died at a ripe old age and God buried him. Muhammad died in a cursed death. His death was very painful according to your sources. It says he suffered the effects of poison and died a very painful, excruciatingly painful and shameful death. So he didn't even die like Moses. That's an error and a distortion of the facts provided by the Muslim sources. But what he said a prophet like Moses would know Yahweh face to face and do miracles like Moses. Did Muhammad know the God of Moses intimately? Impossible. If your Quran is true, Muhammad did not know the God that Moses knew. You know why? Because according to chapter 5 verse 18 of the Quran, chapter 5 verse 18, Allah is not a father to Israel. Israel is not a son of Allah. It says, the Jews and Christians say, we are the children of Allah and His beloved. Say, why does He punish you for your sins? Nay, you are mortals that He has created. So according to Muhammad, his God is not the father of Israel. Moses' God is a father to Israel. Deuteronomy 32 verse 6. Is this the way you repay Yahweh, O foolish and unwise people? Is He not your father? Yahweh is the father of Israel, your creator who made you and formed you? Deuteronomy 32:18, the same book of Deuteronomy that you say predicts Muhammad, exposes Muhammad as a false prophet. Deuteronomy 32:18, you deserted the rock who fathered you. You forgot the God who gave you birth, obviously in a spiritual sense. So note, Moses' God that he knew intimately is a father to Israel. Moses' God, whom he worshipped, gave birth spiritually to the nation of Israel by delivering them out of Egypt and bringing them into the promised land. He is Israel's father. Muhammad's Allah is a father to no one, especially Israel. How can you say they worship the same God? Muhammad's God, according to the Old Testament, Deuteronomy, is a false God. And then finally, let us see if Muhammad did miracles like Moses. Your Quran says no. He did not do miracles like Moses. Therefore, he's not a prophet like Moses. He's a false prophet who preached a different God that Moses did not proclaim. Surah 28, verses 48 to 49. Surah 28, verses 48 to 49. But now, when the truth has come to them from ourselves, they say, why are not miracles, signs, sent to him, meaning Muhammad, like those which were sent to Moses? How come he doesn't have miracles like Moses? Did Allah say, okay, here are the miracles to show that Muhammad is a prophet like Moses? Do they not reject the signs, the miracles which were formerly sent to Moses? Do you see Muhammad's excuse? Well, there's no reason for me to do miracles like Moses because you rejected the miracles of Moses. If I do miracles, you reject them. In other words, Muhammad admits he didn't do a miracle like Moses. Therefore, he's not like Moses. He didn't preach the God that Moses preached. He's a false prophet according to Deuteronomy. So don't use Deuteronomy because it actually works against you, not for you.